Yo, Robbie, I can't believe it. These options went 9,000% in a single day.
No way, dude. That's insane.
It's probably the most insane move I've ever seen or heard of. But what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Coast to Coast Traders podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Robbie.
So, man, let's get into it. This OKLO stock has gone absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
Absolutely
it's
crazy.
hard to not see this stock being talked about on pretty much any form of social media, at least in my feed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like everybody's onto it. It's like definitely feels like it could be the new PLTR, right?
Yep. Hmm.
So, so OKLO goes nuclear, bro. Um, the OKLO chart is crazy because it's showing a 2,000% gain on the shares in a single year.
Right. That's wild.
This is
That's I don't even know. I can't even think of anybody else who's done that. I mean, obviously GME aside.
yeah. I don't think that counts. I don't think that really counts, but
Right. Like meme stock aside, who else is doing this?
maybe SMCI last year. They were pretty crazy.
Mm, yeah, that's true. And then Oracle this year,
Oracle this year,
but
yep.
it's a once in a blue moon. Although, I mean, given how recently Oracle happened, it's like this is the double blue moon or something.
Oh, yeah, yep. But 2,000% move is absolutely crazy. Congrats to anybody who was in the fives. If you were in the fives, please hit us in the comments below. We're super jealous of you. I mean, happy for you. Um,
Hmm.
so what is OKLO, Robbie? You want to walk us through this?
Yeah, so they're a relatively new company. They make small modular reactors, basically. It's just a simpler design that requires less, just a less overall footprint.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, one of the biggest things that they have to offer is their fuel recycling. And a big problem that people think about with regards to nuclear in general is what are we going to do with the waste?
Yep.
And if you're very anti-nuclear, or if you ever have been or know anybody that has been, besides the worst case scenario of some type of meltdown, waste disposal is probably the second biggest factor in that. And so, besides that, which is obviously really great because that's going to reduce your operating costs in a very big way.
Mm-hmm.
But with this current AI explosion bubble, whatever you want to call it, data centers, um, data centers have been popping up like McDonald's almost, and like Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of data centers has increased substantially, and with AIs, running 24/7, these GPUs, these systems are extremely power hungry, and the current grid it's really difficult to keep up with the demand. So obviously, any way to reduce costs from the AI uh, is going to drive a lot of these energy companies as these guys are going to drive a huge benefit for society, energy production in general, lowering costs for everybody. It's just kind of like a win-win. And there's been some stuff with the Department of Energy allocating several $1 million in something they call HALEU, which is just basically uranium enrichment, a different kind. And then there's also recently OKLO being involved in a project like a microreactor that they did in Alaska. So when we've seen these types of news events, we've seen really big bumps in the stock.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the charts, obviously you can see which days those are. But another interesting factor or factoid is that they went public last year through a SPAC led by AI founder Sam Altman. And it's just interesting that he stepped down to avoid conflicts. But I mean, I guess maybe I understand, because if AI data centers are needing energy, you could say maybe, but like I don't think that was necessary. What do you think?
Necessary for him to step down.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary for him to step down because like they're just very different fields. Even though like you would use energy, uh, I don't I don't see the conflict there.
No, I feel like it's what's the conflict likely to be? I guess maybe because, when OpenAI needs to open more data centers or power more data centers, I mean, who are they going to turn to? They're obviously going to turn to OKLO first, right? So if they're trying
Yeah, I
to
suppose
power,
so.
so I mean, maybe it's just so he's not in a position where he's like penning both sides of the deal.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure he's laughing all the way to the bank now, dude. I mean, this is a pretty fat setup.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's it really took me by surprise. Like I'd heard people talking about nuclear
Hmm.
in one way or another, but for me, it wasn't really something like I'm interested in nuclear power for sure.
Yeah,
I'm a proponent of it, but I guess I just didn't really think to look at what stocks out there might be um, in this sector that I should invest in.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's yeah, it's a big
Well,
miss.
it is, man. It's definitely a big miss on my part too. But like, if you look at some of the top 15 growth performers of this year, right? Like OKLO is number one for its returns just this year.
Yep.
But there's some other names on there that we recognize, like Hood. It's a very popular one. Some quantum names with QS, QBTS, PLTR. Some definitely popular ones, but OKLO's at the top, which is pretty crazy. Um,
Yeah. Quick side note about
yeah,
Hood, Joe, is that they're getting added to the S&P 500.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll take off even more. Um, So I came across this, thought it might be worth sharing. There's just like kind of a fringe conspiracy theory. So basically, when the president announced that Chris Wright was going to be nominated to the Department of Energy, he stepped down as a member of the board at OKLO, right? And so we've kind of seen how OKLO is played out. So now what this theory is basically saying, somebody else, Steven Feinberg, stepped down as a co-founder and co-CEO of this Serbia's Capital Management, which owns about 33% or a third of this company, EOSE, and they are in deep financial ties, it says, right? So basically, his priorities for his role including strengthening supply chain and improving the department's supply chain by working more closely with the private sector, right? Workforce improvement, modernizing and improving Department of Defense's workforce, right? So then it's just kind of talking about how there was an order from Camp Pendleton that was basically like massive to quote unquote copy and paste, which was officially said throughout the whole military. So, and then the good thing about these EOS systems is that they won't blow up when enemy targets them, and they don't have any foreign parts or software. So think about how valuable that is. It's only American made, American controlled, right? So kind of like this weird theory. So something definitely a stock to watch. Here's where these were at the same time, at the time of the announcement, right? And so we know what's happened
Yeah.
with OKLO. EOS
If
was
I
that.
may, for a second,
Go ahead, yeah,
Joe,
yeah,
with regards to the conspiracy theory of those guys stepping down, there are a lot of proponents against CEOs or key leadership roles at various companies moving into Congress or
yeah,
any legislative power, and in some ways you can maybe consider those like a Trojan horse because they have a very good position at those companies, and it's like, well, why would you leave that position to
mm,
go into a government position? Well, obviously because they're your buddies. You're like 1 foot in the doors, and basically once you're done in Congress or whatever, you're ripe to come back in. And so there's a lot of conflict of interest there potentially.
yeah, 110%. And I'm sure you guys leave, right? And they're still holding their shares. So it's in their interest too to try to move the stock up more. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, yeah, so here's where it's at now, right? So it's, this was the time frame around here when this was, kind of called out. You saw it was 457 on that chart. And then, it's kind of bounced around here, but made a really bullish move up last week. This is a weekly chart. So, um, obviously it's definitely extended now, right? It obviously hit the 10 resistance and pulled back a little bit. But I would be curious, and anxious to kind of watch for a pullback somewhere in the 7s to 8 range. And this thing might be good to take off. So, need to make a note to come back to this in the future. Um,
Yeah, set your alerts.
exactly. So, Rob, you want to talk about this, man? So, how OKLO is versus Tyson Foods, and It's
Yeah,
kind of
this
a
is
more
pretty
established
wild.
company.
Yeah, exactly. Like you would think a company such like a huge titan of industry, Tyson Foods, like probably anybody who's eaten chicken has had Tyson Foods in one way or of another.
Mm.
And to see such a brand new company, OKLO, barely a year old, already surpassing them in market cap, 20 billion to 19.1. That's pretty wild right there. And only 113 employees versus 142,000. Hello.
Hmm.
talk about talk about your revenue per employee being wildly uh, like, dude, who wouldn't want to have a company that can generate 20 billion market cap on a 100 employees, right?
For real.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
It's definitely unheard of. And I think this is just something that seems like you're getting into the bubble, and this bubble's
Yeah.
looking like it's going to pop, right? And so we have some more kind of bearish thesis here on this company as well. The CFO, filing to sell 100,000 shares worth 9.4 million, right? So obviously retail investors are definitely driving up this evaluation. And so this was a great
Hmm.
post too about kind of the wake up people, the bear case. So absurd evaluation without any revenue, right? We just on the previous two slides ago showed the negative revenue. Um, no nuclear operational power plants, right? So nothing is up and running. The first one is not expected for at least 2 years. At this point, it's a cash burning machine, right? It's already made an insane run. It's had regulatory nightmares. So basically, what this post is kind of lining out here is that you're buying a company worth 15.5 billion with no revenue, no product until 2028 at the earliest, and no guarantee that they'll ever get approval ever, right? And it's like
Yeah.
basically, hey, we're going to build this at some point if regulators ever let us do it. And if they get some bad news or something, this thing is going to crash. Like this will be an epic halt down. You know?
Oh yeah, and actually, I should clarify because in the previous slide when we were comparing Tyson to OKLO, I was saying only a year old. That's actually a mistake. So they're a year old as far as being IPO'd,
Right.
but
Right.
they were founded in 2013,
Correct. Yeah.
but still a relatively young company.
Yep. A newer ticker for sure.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then like this is a lot here. So I won't like run through everything here. You guys are all welcome to pause this and just kind of look at this, analyzing the chart and the price action, and then also just analyzing all these little notes and things like that. But calls out the MIT nuclear engineers, Sam Altman, retired U.S. Marine with 35 years of service, a veteran Wall Street founder and private equity, special deals, all that stuff that's been going on with this. And now the stock is just completely disconnected and it has this rocket up. So me personally, I think I'm going to keep this on watch for signs of the short.
Yeah.
Because I think that it offers a good risk reward there. And, especially if you're into options and you play it with options, you have,
This isn't financial advice. This is just what we might do.
yep, exactly.
Hmm.
But if I play it, I'll play it with options. And the reason I'll play it with options is because my risk is capped. So
Hmm.
if I buy, $1,000 worth of puts, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to go to zero. But if I go short, 1,000 shares, it could be really bad.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be really bad.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna have to do another episode of Margin Call Nightmares.
margin call nightmares. Yeah, I'll tune in from the homeless shelter. Um,
Yeah.
but here it is, dude. This is the crazy move. If you had just put in $200 Thursday morning, like literally the market opens, you like, hey, Oklo's going to 120. I'm buying
Yeah.
calls. $200 Thursday morning turned into over $18,000 on Friday at the close. A 9,000% return.
That is some next level Wall Street bets degenerate kind of stuff right there, man. The kind of trades that you see people are like, "Oh yeah, I like 200 bucks is nothing in the grand scheme of Wall Street bet gamblers."
Right.
But I actually haven't seen any posts talking about people mortgaging their house to go all in on Oklo. But I'm sure there was some people, man. This is wild.
This is definitely wild, bro.
Yeah.
This is for sure wild. For sure wild. And It's hard to even think about just letting the whole trade like sit out there like that, because I would be thinking,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
like if I put $200 in and I saw that I had like tripled my money or like quadrupled my money, I would be thinking, well, let me at least take like half off or something, you know? And
Oh
then,
yeah, dude. The next day when it was like $1,
yeah,
that would have been at least half.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. And then
yeah,
it comes all the way back down. You're probably like, ah, well, it might expire worthless. And then you check it after maybe the first 30 minutes and you're like, oh shit. Like, oh
yeah,
shit, I got to trim.
yeah. There's those diamond hand folks that hodl, man, and at least one person. I mean, I don't know, but I would feel pretty confident saying at least one person probably got the whole move.
Dude, if you just like to have the screenshot of that, I made 9,000% on, most of the time when you see a screenshot anyways, it's one contract.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. All right, bro.
yeah.
Anything else you want to cover, or we're wrapping up this OKLO nuclear explosion?
um, I would just say like on a similar sector note, I had a buddy that was in on UUUU,
Hmm.
and he'd been holding this position for a super long time, and he was kind of like on the verge of like just cutting it for a loss, and so he just kind of hit me up asking me what I thought about it, and I didn't really look into the tech like the fundamentals of the company and or anything about the nuclear sector, what kind of news, because maybe if I did, then I could have had some better advice, but I kind of feel bad because I was just saying, hey, look, I know you're itching to get out, break even, or maybe even a small loss. I was giving him some options about maybe selling some covered calls, but ultimately I was like, look, I like how it is on the chart just simply from a trading perspective, and I really think you're going to get a chance to get out at least break even, if not a little bit more. And I know he trimmed, I want to say at least half over 9, maybe into 10, and then he cut the remainder of the position um, somewhere in the nines. And then it came back down, I think, just below his entry price, around 850, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically the bottom tick before it just went crazy with everything else.
So do you know when he first got into this?
I don't know, but if he was holding from like the eights, it's been a long time.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if he was holding from the 8th, so probably somewhere in here, which is November of almost 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, if he was in the, otherwise maybe he top ticked this right here, whatever, at the beginning of 2024. But so either way, he held this for more than 18 months.
Oh yeah, and he was feeling, I'm sure, very awful when it was down to $3 in
Oh,
April.
oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, this thing's sitting
Yeah.
down
So,
60%.
hmm and
Yikes.
I don't actually know if he entered the full position around November of a couple of years ago, or if he was in and he DCA'd up or down or whatever. Like I don't know how long he's holding, but at the very least I know his average price was somewhere in the eights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey man, at least he got out for green. It's a little wild, but it worked out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Worked out for him. So, alrighty, dude.
Yeah. Just really quickly though, yeah, you got any more of those YouTube likes? Does YouTube views? I gotta tell you, Joe, our last episode blew up,
Mm-hmm.
and I really thank everybody that watched and liked and commented and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty cool. I don't think looking at our YouTube studio analytics, I've been checking that more than I ever checked PNL on any
Yes.
trade.
Yes,
It's
dude, for
funny, man.
real. I'm the same way, bro. Especially like with the market not being open on Saturday and Sunday. Like I caught myself a couple times at work, like just like pulling the drop down to like refresh and being like, oh damn. And actually, bro, I think we're up another 100 views on that video. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So appreciate you guys. I don't know that this video is as clickbaity as that one, but I hope you appreciate uh, at least the commentary on OKLO, and we'd love to hear your success or even your failures on OKLO in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, guys. We appreciate you.
Oh yeah. We'll see you guys in the next one.